We're John and Amy, and we're the hosts of the Totally Worth It podcast. We love to share stories that from the outside look like sad stories. But when you really hear the stories about the families and the joy and the purpose and the impact that they have, you learn that they're not sad stories.
They're happy stories. And while we're listening to those stories, we can learn how to better serve and better love those in the special needs
All
community.
the stories are going to bring joy and value to your day.
Hopefully make you laugh a little bit.
And welcome to the Totally Worth It podcast.
Have fun.
So today we have a conversation with Rebecca Lake, who's the owner of Endless Abilities, but also has some other things going on that she's going to share with the crew. She is based out of Toronto and our first international guest. And so Rebecca, welcome to the Totally Worth It podcast.
Worldwide.
Worldwide, global.
We're global.
Why don't you just give everybody an idea of what you do, what your company does, and the other projects that you're involved in, all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I was very excited to join this podcast. So I founded Endless Abilities. It is a behavioral health clinic that services the GTA. I founded about 3 years ago. So we do in-home and in-clinic applied behavior analysis, IBI, intensive behavior intervention, and we're adding over speech and language services, occupational therapy services, and music therapy services. So that's a lot of fun. I always call Endless Abilities is my baby. So we do that, and then I've got a few other things on the go. I've also been partnered with a company called Sensa, which is a sensory subscription box company for kids also on the spectrum and with other sensory needs and exceptionalities. So that's a monthly subscription box that goes out to, is delivered to your doorstep every month with really cool sensory and educational products. So that's really exciting. That's a new endeavor. And my most recent and most exciting and one of my, very fulfilling projects as well is the Spectrum Advocate, which is through Instagram, where I've tried to essentially create a community for families living with children who have special needs or individuals who are living with autism diagnosis or other exceptionalities, to create a community to educate each other and create a safe space and to have those difficult conversations and educate those who may not know. So that's what I've been up to.
That's where you and I got connected, was through Instagram as Spectrum Advocate. So that's what I know you as. I don't know the Endless Ability side as much. You obviously have a heart for children on the autism spectrum. Can you tell the story of why you're called to children on the autism spectrum? Where did that come from?
When I was 15, I started camps. And I was supposed to do mainstream camps, and I was selected to be in the special needs camps. So I actually have an uncle who has Down syndrome. He's about 50 now, I'd say. So I had a really good relationship and understanding of, what it means to be different from a very young age. So I went into this camp, and I was a little bit, being 15 years old, I was put into the adult camp actually with the medically fragile, and they were calling it more so, the severe, campers. So I was paired with two that had autism and one that had Down syndrome, varying ages from anywhere from 18 to 30. I think one of them was 30 years old. So I was very, very, very nervous on my first day. And I went in it being 15, not knowing anything about autism or really disabilities at the time. And I walked out after at the end of the day with like the biggest, I had a very tough day for my first day, but I have never felt it was just the most rewarding feeling. So when I walked out of this camp that day, I remember my parents waiting for me to see how my day went. And I was just like, it's just so amazed by the people. I was really amazed by the people I was working with, like the seasoned camp leaders. And I was looking up to them and I was like, I want to be like them. I want to be able to communicate with these people and interact with these people the way that they do. So I was immediately drawn to it. And from there, I never stopped. I did it for 5 years. I took on private respite work. I went into school for educational support work. So I worked in the school board. And then I stumbled across ABA. So I went into behavioral technology as a second program in college. And that's kind of how I saw this whole new world of reinforcement and how to teach these children who learn a little bit differently than others and than what I was used to. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Amy and I say all the time that our two biggest heroes in our community are special needs siblings and anyone who does work with children with special needs, because you choose it, because it's your heart and it's your passion. We don't choose to be parents of special needs. That's just where we found ourselves. And we know the hard work and we know how much we rely on people like you. So thank you. We hire you to the moon.
To the
Thank
moon.
Thank you.
So what do you see when you're beginning to work with parents and kiddos on the spectrum and through Endless Abilities, or even if you see a new family on the spectrum, what do they need most? What are they newly diagnosed? Are they seasoned and at the end of their rope and just need more intervention? Where do you come in that part?
A lot of families that we see are either they just got their diagnosis recently in Canada too, just like what I'm noticing with families walking through our doors is they're getting diagnosed pretty early, and I think that's also because we have a decent funding system here. There's some gaps in the funding system, but Canada does have, like when I initially started my company, the way it would work is they'd come to us, they'd say, hey, I got my diagnosis. It would take usually 6 months to a year to get your diagnosis. That can be pretty long wait list. Once they got the diagnosis, they would then be sent to a government organization that would pretty much approve them for what we called the Ontario Autism Plan or Autism Budget Plan. So they'd come to us and my clinicians Endless Abilities clinicians would do an assessment and they'd say, okay, here's a budget plan. This child needs 25 hours a week. And you plan for those hours for the supervision, for the program development, for the groups, if you wanted to do social skills. And we'd be approved for a year to 5 years. Like they get funding until they're like 18. So that was
this
very...
is all government. So most of yours is government funded, most of the work you do?
Yeah. Now,
Wow.
a large majority as well, though, because there's such a high volume, a lot of kids also don't get funding. So our new funding system it's the new childhood budget. It's not very needs-based. So I've been to many rallies and stuff with families and with my staff, because they're pretty much just saying, hey, here's, I think for under 5, they say here's 20,000 for the year and you have to use it. And if you're over 5, here's 5,000. So that created a lot of issues, because how are you going to tell us that a child who's over 5 or a child who's under 5 doesn't need the same amount of support or hours? Like, some kids get diagnosed late. We have a lot of immigrants that come in as well that don't even have a diagnosis until they're 8 or 9, and the parents can't afford. Therapy's expensive. They can, and it's needed, and they can't afford to pay for it out of their pocket. But some parents have put their house up for like sale or mortgage their house because they are trying to pay for the therapy. So we're hoping to have a new plan come next year, 2021. But that's kind of what happens is they come in and they say, what can I get, like, while I'm waiting for my funding? What can I do with this budget for my child? And we're the kind of providers that we don't want to waste people's time or money. So at Endless Abilities, we say, okay, listen, this is what we can do for you, but we're not going to do, a few hours a week of one-to-one and set high expectations. This is what we can do with 6 hours a week. And if that's not realistic for the individual, then we'll say, let's hold off a little bit. We'll do some consultation, you know, a few one-on-one, maybe an hour or two a week to support and do parent coaching. And then when the time comes to be able to actually make, you know, make change or make a difference in the therapy, when they have the funding, then we bring them on to service. We don't want to waste anyone's money.
Are they getting a firm diagnosis at that age, or there's just early intervention?
Diagnosis. Yeah, like usually the doctors will recommend early intervention if they suspect that they have autism or a speech delay, but usually they have the diagnosis. Recently, it's like around the age of 2.5, which is very young. 2.5, sometimes. On average, it's 3 years old though. Most of the kids that come, they're 3 years old. They just got their diagnosis.
Right.
So
Got it.
it's better for them to access the funding quicker, because the wait list for funding is at least 1 year to 2 years.
All right, Rebecca, since you've been working with children on the spectrum, I don't want you to give away any of your secret sauce, any of your no secrets here, but it's very interesting for parents. I know it will be. Have you found some kind of common processes or tools or exercises in the children that you're working with that have consistently brought breakthroughs for families?
Yeah. I could say so many things. My biggest thing as a therapist is, first of all, I think ABA, I think reinforcement in general is a beautiful thing. I think ABA, we work solely off of reinforcement and other things, of course. The principles of ABA are very, very wide. My breakthrough, I think, and this I didn't learn in my first year or my second year, I learned it later on, is I think sometimes we're not always educated when, you know, we could be in this profession and working with a kid, but if you don't have a good mentor to teach you that, to change your perspective and the way that you are actually giving therapy or the way that you're teaching, even teachers, we need to stop looking at the child. And I say this to parents too, is don't look at your child as your child with autism. Just look at your child, understand your child as who they are. And I think too often you link it to autism. And my biggest thing is, you know, if it's ever difficult, I'm having a hard time with the behavior or anything like that, I get on their level and I just try to understand, like I try to put myself in their shoes on how they're feeling, because sometimes it can be tough to understand that, especially if an individual is nonverbal or their behavior escalates so much that it's hard to get through to them. But if you just sit down and you try to get to their level and understand and put yourself literally in their shoes, it makes it a little bit easier to understand, instead of looking at it from such a clinical standpoint all the time. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it absolutely does, because even at the core, like their personality is there, like each, you know, stubborn or a pleaser or a giver, or, you know, that core personality is always there regardless of the autism, whether they're goofy or whether they're silly or whether they're serious, you know, or if they suffer, you know, if they worry or any of that, that's always there at the root before the autism.
I think the biggest thing is finding common ground with any person. It's like when I'm trying to reason with my parents or my mom, and, you know, there's always something that I have in common. I always find things in common with someone. And with all my kiddos, I've seen many, many different, you know, I've experienced many different types of children. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. That's another thing I always tell the therapists. I always say this, you know, this program or this method may not work for this child. It's never one size fits all. And if you look at it that way, you won't be successful, because then you're not catering to that child's needs at that point. You're just thinking about it from textbook.
Right.
So.
It's so funny that you talk about this as one of the processes that gets the most consistent breakthroughs, because I have several milestones through my being Mabry's dad that teaches me how to raise Mabry better. And one of my biggest breakthroughs of all was several years ago. I was given a speech at one of Blue Sky's fundraisers. I was writing down what I was going to say, and I started by writing, you know, everybody always sees how Mabry is different. And it's very easy to figure out how she's different. But I started making a list of things that Mabry and I have in common. And when I did that, it blew my mind. It changed everything. And so it's crazy that you say that. I had firsthand experience with that.
I love that. I'm so glad.
It's so true. And I think too, when you're able to build a relationship and build trust with your kiddo, whether it's your own kiddo or whether one you're working with, I work with special needs adults throughout the week, and they're my friends, and I think if you can get that trust level, they trust you more, and are willing to put in the work with you.
Looking at them as just, like you said, friends, like you're interacting with a friend, not a client, not a customer, it's not like that. You shouldn't have that relationship or that perspective when you're in the field. It makes the world of a difference when you have someone who's talking to you, from the same eye level and trying to understand you.
How has COVID changed the way y'all had to do things? I don't know how it is in Canada, but here we've had to really shift our strategies and figure out how to be able to serve our families at Blue Sky differently. How has that changed for you guys?
Yeah, COVID definitely hit us. We were on lockdown from March to June, March, April, May, about 4 months. As an employer as well, it can be really tough trying to figure out, because we like to think about not only our clients, of course, our kids, but our staff. If they're not able to show up for themselves, how are they going to show up for our kids? So we were kind of struggling with trying to make sure that we can't physically see our kids. We can't physically see our staff and support them. So we tried to stay in the loop as often as possible. We tried to kind of keep the positivity going, keep hope that it's okay. We're going to get back to it. It's going to be okay. We offered as many resources as we could and opened the floor for as much dialogue, virtual conversations, all with our clients, our families, and our staff. The staff at Endless Ability are so wonderful. They really mirror kind of my vision, which is what we would hope for. And they all put their best foot forward. They volunteered their time to create materials and social stories. And they even did videos to send to the kids saying like, hey buddy, I miss you. And they would send those regularly just to have that face-to-face time with them and let them know that they're still there and they miss them. And it's not normal right now, but we're going to get back to it soon. So I'm really glad that I had the support from my entire team at Endless Abilities. In the meantime, we did develop all new programs and kind of a new way of how we service our families. So for us, it allowed us to restructure to be better. So we opened back up. So we did virtual for about a month or two where we would do just video consults for half an hour. We didn't do the one-on-one on video just because we didn't feel that it would be as effective.
Right.
And we opened back up. We were one of the first companies in the GTA to open back up on the 29th. But we've done it in phases. So we're currently in phase 2. Phase 1, we had every staff has thermometers. We have an entire screening tool. We clean 3 times a day, and the staff are only allowed to be in one room with their client at all times with masks at all times, frequent hand washing, all that stuff. So it's gone, thankfully, so smoothly since we returned, and now we're in phase 2 where we've expanded, where we can pick up more clients and be in more homes while still maintaining the safety of everyone.
How many clients do y'all serve right now?
Whew. I would say ballpark, I think we're around 60 or 70 at this point. We've got a wait list. And since COVID happened, actually, it's just been ever growing. A lot of other companies have sprouted around us. We were supposed to open up another clinic before COVID hit. So I'm very grateful we didn't, because it would have put us in a very bad place financially. But we've had more, because some places closed, some places opened. More people are willing to go to a company that's been around for longer, so more people are coming to us. but we're the kind of company as well that we would rather partner with all these ABA clinics, so that, because we're all in this for the same reason. We have the same mission. We just want these kids to get service, and in here especially, the wait lists are crazy. So yeah, it's been busy. I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but it's been pretty busy. They're on lunch right now.
Love that.
We can hear it.
Yeah.
Hey, so you mentioned the Sensa. Did I say that right? Sensa, S-E,
Yeah.
the Sensa.
Yeah.
So that I haven't heard of that. Subscription boxes are like all the rage right now. So I think that's really, really cool. What's one product that you have seen that has been like, wow, this is awesome, or this is a game changer for my clients?
Well, the one box just went out, the first one, I think it was last week, and I've been seeing the unboxings coming, and they're amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Kids love the kinetic sand. Like, they go crazy over it. And then we have an LCD writing tablet. I might have to go and get them to go in the other room. We have an LCD writing tablet it's very lightweight. I actually have the box over here. I think I brought the box in, yeah. And I actually gave a box to my niece who's not on the spectrum, and she carries this LCD writing tablet with her everywhere. It's like just very lightweight. You can write on it. It erases when you press the button, so it's great for car rides. And you can practice writing your name and tracing your name and stuff. And yeah, my niece takes it with her when she potty trains. It's hilarious. She loves it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So,
I'm writing it down right now.
All right, Rebecca. So we've got a lot of special needs parents listening to you right now, and you've already given some great advice. I love the suggestion of finding those commonalities. All these special needs parents that are listening are going to be at a different place in their journey. Some brand new, some very mature. Knowing that you've got this audience listening, what's one good piece of advice or encouragement that you could give them that you think everybody could take some value away from today?
the one thing I always stay true to is that first you have to believe in your child's ability. If you don't believe in their ability, then they won't. It's not that they won't be successful, but they need you to believe in them and believe in their abilities, and try to look at your child from a different light. A lot of parents get discouraged when they have that autism diagnosis, and I think it allows it to be a little bit, it kind of restricts us from being able to see the beauty in autism, because there's so much beauty in autism, but try to eliminate the idea that they even have that diagnosis, and look at just level down with your child and get to know them as who they are, who's inside, and that's really hard to say, because a lot of parents will say, I don't know how to communicate with them, I don't understand, and that's okay. And that's why you have support, like, all these advocates, other parents, places like Endless Abilities or ABA clinics that will help you to better understand your child. But the biggest thing I will say is you have to believe in your child and never give up on their abilities, regardless of what you're seeing in front of you. You will make a breakthrough, and you will get to know your child from a completely different lens if you give them a chance and you give that a chance.
I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't think I've ever heard it put that way, but I absolutely love it. So you've talked quite a bit about Endless Abilities and what your clinic does. You talked a little bit about Sensa. You mentioned at the beginning some other things that you're doing with the Spectrum Advocate. Just take a minute to tell everybody where they can find you on Instagram, any of the things that you're doing, what your new projects are. I know that you have maybe a weekly Instagram live thing that goes on. So just tell everybody where to find you and how they can be involved with you, because they're all going to want to find you after this.
I love that. So please, everyone can follow me on the Spectrum Advocate on Instagram. I've got a website that'll be up in a week that I've just been working on redoing. It'll be thespectrumadvocate.com. And then I've got Endless Abilities Incorporated, so it's at Endless Abilities Inc. And then the third one is at Shop Sensa. So if you're in Canada and you're looking at subscription box companies, check out at Shop Sensa. It'll soon be in the States. I'll let you guys know when it is. But
I was
my
about to
biggest thing
say,
is
why are
to,
you need to get global quick. I want one of those.
yeah, we're coming up. We'll come over there very soon. We're aiming for
Okay.
November. But my biggest one is the Spectrum Advocate. I really want to continue to grow that and to educate and bring together community and just shed light and like on the beauty of autism and this amazing world of autism.
Thank you for your work. Truly.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for reaching out to us. Everything that you do on the Spectrum Advocate, I find a value in. It either brings a smile to my face or it gives me some new information. So keep that up, please. You're doing awesome work.
Thank you so much. You guys have been such a joy to chat with, and I look forward to connecting more and hopefully getting you guys on one of my lives. And that'd be great.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rebecca. We love having you. Take care.
Guys, have a beautiful day.
Wasn't I amazing? I think that was my best one yet.
Whatever is the easiest way for you to find us, podcast or YouTube, just subscribe.
Just come knock on the door. You can
Come
do
on.
that too.
Have dinner with us. You can take Mabry with you.
If you're nice, go ahead and leave us a review also.
Leave us a review. You never know. You might just get it in front of somebody that really needed to hear the message.
But if you're going to be mean, just private message us.
Actually, don't message us at all.
Go on. Go on. Get out of here. We don't need you.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Totally Worth It podcast. We appreciate you.